Insane revelation, Joseph's betrayal unveiled at 3 a.m., from prisoner to Egypt's ruler. The clock struck 3, its eerie chime slicing through the silence of the desolate night. In a dimly lit cell, shadows danced against cold, damp walls. The air crackled with unspoken secrets, buzzed with electricity, or was it fear? Joseph, a mere prisoner shackled by iron chains, had a truth so explosive it echoed beyond these grim bars. Fate had twisted the knife, and tonight, it was about to pierce deep into ancient history. Outside, the moon hung low, illuminating every crack in the ground, each creak of the old, forgotten building. Curiosity lingered, almost palpable. Some said his nightmares were vivid, filled with whispers of power, visions of a throne and blood. Dreams that would change the course of nations. Could one man's betrayal really rewrite history? In that moment, an inexplicable chill settled over the landscape. Time stretched and twisted, as if the universe held its breath, waiting for the inevitable explosion of truth. But what was this betrayal that brewed beneath the surface? The guards had noticed his strange, restless behavior, the way his eyes flickered like flames when he spoke of dreams. Seriousness turned to whispers. "He's lost it," they muttered. But in their hearts, they felt it too. Something bigger was at play. The night stretched long, haunted by the mystery of a man destined for greatness, while chains kept him in the dark. A voice behind the door, the warden. No. Just the wind. Or maybe something worse. As raindrops began to patter against stone, a figure emerged. The prison door creaked like a coffin lid, and there it was, a sleepwalker, eyes glazed, mouth murmuring the name of an ancient god. Joseph could hear it. The air shifted, thick with anticipation, as if the very universe did not want to let his story die. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As elements converged, dreams, deceit, power, the walls began to close in. Joseph's heart raced, fueled by adrenaline. Could he navigate this treacherous path, or would shadows pull him back into darkness? Every tick of the clock echoed louder now, as anticipation crackled in the air. The moment was near. Would he rise from prisoner to ruler, or would betrayal claim him like a thief in the night? With the clock ticking, the line between dream and reality blurred, leaving only the question of what would happen next. The figure stumbled into the cell, its presence heavy with an aura of madness. Joseph squinted, trying to discern the face of the sleepwalker. It was a young man, a fellow prisoner, haunted by the demons of his own mind. The boy's murmurs transformed into frantic whispers, words that twisted and turned like serpents seeking solace. "He's coming for you," he muttered, eyes wide with a terror Joseph had never seen before. Joseph's pulse quickened. Who was coming? And why? The young man leaned in closer, breath hot and quick. "You're the one. The chosen one," his voice dropped, trembling. "But they'll betray you. They'll kill you." All at once, Joseph felt an insatiable hunger for the truth. What lay beneath the layers of despair and chains? The boy fell silent, eyes rolling back as if plunged into another vision. Joseph edged closer, intent on hearing every murmured syllable, determined not to let this chance slip away. "Egypt," the boy whimpered, "the land of the pharaohs, they await your rise." Suddenly, a loud clang echoed through the hall, snapping Joseph back to reality. Had the guards noticed? Sweat broke on his brow as he peered back towards the door. Darkness rippled with shadows, and he could almost feel the eyes weighing down on him, probing for cracks in his bravado. Rage and fear surged within him. But then, like a flickering candle, hope ignited. What if this wasn't just a fevered dream? What if the whispers were more than madness? Behind those walls loomed a power he could barely comprehend. If he could escape, he could reclaim what was rightfully his. He had spent too long in chains, letting his dreams drown in despair. So he seized this moment. "Tell me more," he urged, shaking the boy lightly. "What do you know about my destiny?" The young man caught his breath, his eyes slowly regaining focus. "The famine, it's coming. The dreams, Joseph. You must interpret them. They will lead you. Pharaoh needs you." Pharaoh. The word sent a jolt of recognition through Joseph. He had seen visions tied to this very ruler, memories mixing with the threads of fate. But how could he, a prisoner, influence a king? "No one believes me," the boy exclaimed suddenly, tears spilling down his cheeks. "They cast me aside as mad, but I saw it. I saw the stars align." Joseph gripped the bars tightly, fighting the suffocating panic within. "You're not mad. We need to find a way out. If your visions are true, then we can leverage this. We can convince Pharaoh." But doubt crept in, shattering his bravado. Would Pharaoh listen to the words of a prisoner? Would anyone? Just then, the sound of heavy boots echoed closer. A pair of guards rounded the corner, torches swinging, halos of light slicing through the dark. "Get back to your cell, you filth," one of them barked, catching sight of the two boys. Joseph's heart raced. The moment of revelation was slipping away, along with the fragments of hope. "You must go," the young man whispered urgently, his eyes locking onto Joseph's. "You're the key. But hurry before it's too late." Joseph felt the weight of destiny pressing down hard. Every second counted. The guards were drawing nearer, the opportunity wavering like a flame caught in a storm. Joseph's mind whirled. Would he dare defy fate one more time, knowing that the cost could be his life? As the guards approached, their eyes glinting with menace, the choice loomed before him. Fate was calling, and the night was thick with urgency. What would he choose? Would he confront the darkness, or would he let fear seal his fate? Time slipped like sand through his fingers. The future itself held its breath, waiting for his next move. Joseph's heart thundered in his chest, the weight of his decision pressing down harder than the chains around his wrists. The guards were close now, their voices like razor blades cutting through the tension. "Get back! Move!" One shouted, the tip of a torch igniting the shadows that clung to the walls. "Run!" The boy hissed, eyes wild, a desperate urgency behind them. Joseph didn't have time to question the wisdom of following this frantic figure but felt the pull of destiny draw him forward. In that split second, he acted. He turned and darted toward the farthest corner of the cell. Darkness welcomed him, shrouding his escape. He flattened himself against the cold stone wall, breath bated, adrenaline flooding through him. With each footfall drawing nearer, Joseph fought to quiet his pounding heart. The guards stormed into view, their torches dancing like flames eager to catch him. "Search every inch. He can't have gone far," one shouted. Joseph felt like a cornered animal, desperation screaming for a way out. The cell felt like a prison of not just bars, but of fate. But outside, sprawling beyond the suffocating confines, lay the world, pulsing and teeming with the possibilities of freedom. Think, he muttered under his breath. There had to be a way. He recalled the boy's words, an echo that resonated with the fury of hope Pharaoh's need. A narrow slit revealed itself at the far side of the chamber. Hope sparked anew, igniting his resolve. He glanced back at the boy, who was now slumped against the wall, breathless and shaking, lost in a whirlpool of visions. "Joseph, you must go." "No. I can't leave you." The words tumbled out before he could stop them. "Don't waste time. You have to rise." The boy's voice cracked, urgency tethering him to reality despite his delusions. Instinct kicked in, and Joseph backtracked. They could escape together. With thoughts of shared destinies and a united front against the tormentors, Joseph dashed to his cellmate. Then something caught his ear, a muffled sound, almost like shuffling, then a grunt. A second pair of guards was approaching from behind, shattering his fleeting hope. "Move!" he hissed, shaking the boy. "We have to go now." The guards were calling out instructions, their raucous laughter echoing in the hallway. They were altogether too confident, dismissive of the desperate lives entwined in the shadows. Joseph grabbed the boy and pulled him towards the slit, the dark opening that might lead back to freedom. They squeezed together, hearts racing, bodies pressed tight through the narrow gap, and emerged into the labyrinthine corridors of the prison. The smell of damp stone and the lingering stench of despair clung to them as they navigated every turn. Outside, the world shimmered with unknown dangers and possibility. And yet, as they ran, the boy started to tremble uncontrollably. His voice, he gasped, "Do you hear it? The one who's coming. Just keep moving." Joseph urged, fear prickling at the back of his neck. But then it hit him, the boy's words weren't just madness. They weighed like stones, heavy with truth. Did he dare acknowledge the voice searching for him? Suddenly, a piercing cry rang through the corridors. The guards were on to them. "They're escaping. Find them." With their shouts ringing in his ears, Joseph sprinted ahead, a relentless drive toward a door that loomed in the distance, a door that could lead to sunlit chances or deeper darkness. But just as he reached for the handle, sunlight pouring through the cracks, the ground shook beneath him. A shadow loomed at the threshold, the unmistakable outline of a figure that sent a sharp chill down his spine. It was him, the one who was coming, Joseph. The boy yelled, clawing at his arm. "You have to choose. Will the chosen one rise?" In that moment, time distorted, forcing reality to collide with prophecy. The air was thick with fate. Joseph had to make his choice now: risk everything and confront the looming figure, or retreat into the safety of the shadows. His heart raced as the figure advanced, ominous and shrouded in the uncertainty of the night. What awaited him on the other side? Would this be the moment that defined his legacy, or would it seal his doom? The door swung open. The door creaked with a haunting reverberation, swinging open to reveal a figure wreathed in shadow, his face obscured but his presence suffocating. Joseph squinted against the blinding light, barely able to gauge the towering form before him. A deep, resonating voice cut through the air, rich with authority. "Joseph," it called, lingering on his name like a shroud. "You've been chosen." "Chosen?" Joseph echoed, disbelief cracking through his panic. He felt the cold absence of freedom seep back into him, the thrill of flight twisting into a clenching dread. The boy next to him flinched, his grip tightening like a vice. "What do you want?" "You will find that the question is not what I want, but what you desire." The figure stepped forward, and Joseph's heart plunged. Recognition came crashing back as the figure stepped into the light, a regal man with piercing eyes and an air of command that both fascinated and terrified him. "Pharaoh." Joseph's voice fell to a whisper. The boy peered up, wide-eyed in awe. "You shouldn't be here. I follow fate just as you do, Joseph," the Pharaoh intoned, raising a hand as if to still their rising anxiety. "This prison was merely a starting point. There's a greater purpose awaiting you, should you choose to accept it." "What purpose?" Joseph's lungs felt constricted like a vice. Nightmares danced through his mind, dark thoughts of betrayal and subjugation. "I've been nothing but a prisoner. How can I ever trust anyone again?" "Because trust is not given lightly. It is earned through actions, after all." The Pharaoh's voice was hypnotic, beckoning Joseph into a web of destiny. "Think of your people. The ones suffering beyond these walls. In you lies the power to change everything." The boy beside him shook his head. "No. Don't listen. This is a trick, Joseph. He's playing with your mind." "Am I?" The Pharaoh challenged, intensity surging in his voice. "Or am I the only one who can offer you a path beyond shackles, beyond despair?" He took a step forward, the air thrumming with tension. You possess the blood of leaders, it is time to embrace it. Joseph's mind whirled. The echoes of his past filled him, the dreams of freeing his people, the fires of rebellion in his heart. But was this pharaoh genuine, or a puppet master toying with lives? He licked his dry lips. What do you want from me? I offer a choice, the pharaoh replied, each word heavy with implication. List the cost of power against the price of peace. Stand by my side, or remain bound in darkness. Just then, the wail of approaching guards pierced the thick air, a cacophony of chaos that sliced through their moment. They're coming. Joseph gasped. Panic carved urgency into his veins. Choose now. The pharaoh proclaimed, his voice booming, the power radiating from him like a palpable force. Stand with me, or run into the abyss forever lost. Joseph's chest tightened, the weight of the world folding into that one moment. The inevitability of decision crashed down upon him. He could be the savior or succumb to shadow. Behind him, the boy trembled, uncertainty etched on his face. Would he follow the pharaoh into glory, towing the line of betrayal? Or would he flee, denying the siren call of ambition? The guards' footsteps thundered closer, their voices rising. Joseph's heart thundered with possibility, the ground shaking both from fear and his pulse quickening. He stood at a precipice, arms outstretched between power and safety. In a shattering instant, he knew he had to act. But which path would he take before the guards arrived? The pharaoh's unwavering gaze locked onto his, holding secrets of a future laced with treacherous beauty. Would Joseph step into the light, or would he be swallowed by the shadows? The doorway whispered promises as he weighed the cost of freedom against the stakes of honor. Joseph felt as if the world closed in around him, darkness gathering at the edges of his vision. The pharaoh's promise hung like a noose, both tantalizing and terrifying. Time felt frozen, each heartbeat echoing like a war drum as the guard's shouts grew closer, piercing the tension like a blade. Choose. The command sliced through him, stronger than the weight of his fear. The boy beside him whimpered, his face pale with dread, wide eyes flickering between Joseph and the threatening door. Joseph's mind raced. Safety loomed behind him, a flickering shadow of hope. But the allure of power of being more than a mere prisoner skated across his heart, igniting a fire deep within. Was this the moment to shatter the chains of his past? To rise, but what if it all was a trap? His throat tightened as doubt clawed at him. Memories of betrayal flashed, whispers, lies, each one more haunting than the last. What made this situation any different? Joseph. The pharaoh's voice thundered again, pulling him from his spiraling thoughts. You are destined for greatness. Do not let fear rule you. The guards were almost there, their footsteps echoing like thunder in his ears. They would take him back to the darkness where hope suffocated. Stand with me, the pharaoh's voice softened, a siren-esque call laced with promise. Together we can forge a new destiny. You can save your people. Joseph felt his heart flip. Was this the salvation he dared to dream of? Without hesitation, he stepped forward, the distance between him and the pharaoh narrowing, drawn like a moth to a flame, but just as his resolve solidified, the door swung wide open, the guards flooding the room. Clad in armor and armed to the teeth, they stood like a wall of fear, ready to crush any semblance of rebellion dawning within Joseph. Stop right there. One of the guards bellowed, and Joseph froze, a jolt of ice shooting through him. The weight of his decision hung thick in the air as panic spilled forth like a rushing river. Choose now. The pharaoh's voice thundered again, cutting through the chaos as if he were the only solid thing in this moment. Joseph's instincts screamed for him to run, but every part of him roared against it. Joseph. The boy's voice trembled with fear, his eyes wide as he watched the scene unfold, helpless. Don't trust him. The guards surged forward, weapons gleaming in the harsh light. There was no time left. In that moment of chaos, Joseph felt something snap inside him, a defiance as primal as life itself. He couldn't let this chance slip away. I'll stand with you. He shouted over the roar of clanging metal. The Pharaoh's eyes sparkled with a mixture of pride and triumph. Then embrace your destiny, Joseph. As the guards lunged, Joseph felt a surge of energy flow through him, raw and electric. But even as he stepped into the light, uncertainty gnawed at the edges of his mind. Was this a choice or a final surrender? The room erupted into a cacophony of shouts, steel on steel, chaos erupting as he took the plunge. As everything erupted into frenzy, he felt arms reach for him, the boy beside him screaming, the Pharaoh's voice rising above the din, propelling him forward. An explosion of noise crashed around them, blinding light and shadows dancing. What came next was a blur, the world slipping through his fingers like sand. Would his choice lead him to freedom or damn him further into the abyss? As the dust settled, Joseph's heart raced with a furious tempo, thrumming with questions that hung like a dense fog in the air. What awaited him on the other side of this madness? With his heart in his throat and the echoes of conflict raging behind him, Joseph couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. As the chaos subsided, Joseph found himself in an open chamber, the air thick with tension and uncertainty. Around him, echoes of the battle still reverberated, but his attention burned fiercely on the man in front of him. The Pharaoh stood tall, a beacon of fervor amidst the rubble, his eyes alight with ambition. "Welcome, Joseph," the Pharaoh said, voice steady and commanding. "You have chosen wisely. Together, we will unleash a storm." Joseph nodded, thoughts racing. But ahead of him, shadows flickered across the walls, memories taunted him, dreams of freedom intertwined with the reality of his choice. Could he truly trust this man? Was he just a pawn in a grander game? The boy's face flashed in Joseph's mind, pleading, "Don't trust him." The words echoed bitterly. Now, standing beside the Pharaoh, Joseph grappled with the tug-of-war inside. Freedom slipped from his grasp like grains of sand. "Your power lies within you," the Pharaoh encouraged, almost hypnotic. "You're no longer a prisoner. You're a warrior, Joseph." A roar of triumph erupted from behind him as the remaining guards joined their ranks. Joseph turned to face them, each one clad in armor that glinted ominously, their eyes hardened by duty. Among them, though, was fear, a flicker of doubt in their posture that ignited hope within Joseph. Was he really capable of leading, of shifting the tides? "Let us gather our forces, Joseph." The Pharaoh snapped, sealing his eyes onto him. "We must strike now while fear grips our enemies." Joseph's pulse quickened at the thought of power, the promise of it pulling him forward, but doubt shadowed him. He took a deep breath. "And what if I fail?" The Pharaoh's face hardened, a moment of revelation clouding his features. Failure is not an option. Power requires sacrifice. As they moved closer to the main hall, whispers began to swirl around Joseph, growing louder with each step. The guards, buzzing not just from battle, but from murmurs of disquiet. "What if the boy is right?" someone croaked. "What if he is a traitor?" The accusations sliced through Joseph's resolve. "What have I done?" Panic gripped him, unease churned in his stomach. Each step seemed heavier, as shadows danced along the edges. Was he truly the savior he was meant to be, or merely another player strung along in the Pharaoh's grand design? Suddenly, there was a commotion at the entrance. A figure charged through the doorway, breathless and pale. It was the boy, his eyes wide with desperation. "Joseph!" he cried, voice cracking. "You're making a mistake. The Pharaoh, he is lying." The atmosphere shifted like a storm gathering strength. Guards shifted nervously, glancing among one another. Joseph felt their eyes on him, sharp, questioning. "Enough." The Pharaoh's roar cut through the tension, but it was too late. The boy's words loomed larger than any decree. "He wants to use you, Joseph." Heart racing, Joseph turned to the Pharaoh. "Is that true?" The Pharaoh's composure cracked, a flicker of rage blazed in those calculating eyes. "Do not listen to a child. We have bigger things to attend to." Joseph felt the weight of expectation and the burden of choice pressing down. He could feel the eyes of the guards, the boy pleading, and the darkness swirling around him. Was this a moment of awakening or doom? Before he could respond, a loud crash echoed behind them, a hidden door bursting open, revealing yet another faction from the shadows, armed and dangerous. The tension shattered like glass. Choose. The boy's voice rang out, urgency infusing his tone. Joseph's heart thundered against the cage of his ribs, fear and resolve battling fiercely within him, as he faced the looming tempest of betrayal. What lay ahead? Could he carve his own path, or would he be lost in the echoes of ambition? The weight of his future hung in the air like an omen. With breath held taut, Joseph stood at the precipice of fate, questioning everything, ready to confront the truth he feared most. Before Joseph could fully process the unfolding chaos, the sound of clashing steel filled the air. The new faction that crashed through the hidden door was a mix of hooded figures wielding sharp blades and fierce expressions. They surged forward like a wave, intent on claiming the tumultuous scene for themselves. Joseph instinctively took a step back, but the pharaoh remained steadfast, his eyes narrowed and dangerous. "Stay by my side," he commanded, voice slicing through the noise like a knife. The boy hesitated but then edged closer to Joseph. "We can fight them off. We have to work together." Panic laced his voice, mingling with the acrid scent of dust and sweat. "Together?" Joseph echoed, a knot tightening in his stomach. Could he really trust both the pharaoh and the boy? Foreboding shadows of doubt cling to our choices. The pharaoh's voice was dangerously calm, but the darkness outside is far greater. He raised his arm, commanding the guards behind him with an authoritative flick of his wrist. One by one, they drew their weapons, ready to engage. "Your loyalty will be tested, Joseph." The pharaoh's words hung in the air like a taunt. Before Joseph could respond, the fight erupted. He found himself thrust into the chaos, lost in the whirlwind of conflict. Adrenaline surged as he ducked and weaved through clashes of metal, instinct taking over. For a moment, he forgot everything: doubts, fear, the boy's warnings as the primal drive to survive kicked in. But as soon as he turned to strike, an overwhelming dread washed over him. His blade met another, and in the split second of connection, he realized he wasn't just fighting for himself, he was fighting for a cause shrouded in deeper shadows. Every swing of his weapon felt heavier with the weight of his choices. "And what if your blade becomes the tool of tyranny?" The boy's voice echoed in his mind, breaking through the chaos. "Will you become just another pawn?" The question consumed him like the fiery glow of the torches lining the hull. He glanced towards the boy, who stood fearlessly, poised to defend him. Their eyes locked for a moment, and Joseph thought he saw fear mingled with fierce determination. Without thinking, Joseph lunged toward the boy, grabbing his arm to pull him close. "We need a plan. Fight together, not apart." The boy nodded, and they maneuvered as a unified front, narrowly dodging an attack aimed at them. The pharaoh caught sight of their cooperation, his expression turning dark. "What are you doing? You are meant to rally behind me." His voice thundered, but Joseph felt something shift in the air, an opportunity in that instant, he made a choice. He redirected his weapon toward the pharaoh, betrayal now flickering in his heart. "You've played us, haven't you? You want us divided." The pharaoh's eyes flared with rage, but it was the glimmer of something else: fear. "You dare question my authority?" Joseph took a deep breath, the gravity of the moment pressing down on him. "I choose freedom. I choose truth. I am not your puppet anymore." A collective gasp echoed through the chamber, halting the fight momentarily. The guards hesitated, caught between loyalty and rising doubt. "Join him at your own peril." The pharaoh growled, and the air crackled with tension. Joseph stood, heart hammering, every eye in the room fixed on him. His world had splintered into two paths, both fraught with danger. Ahead was the boy, the future uncertain but filled with his own heartbeat. Behind was the pharaoh, a tempest of wrath and deception. "Choose now," he shouted, the question reverberating off the walls, each syllable infused with urgency. Suddenly, a scream erupted from the shadows, a voice he knew. "Joseph! Don't!" The cry sliced through the air, bringing everything to a dead stop. Who was it? What awaited him? As tension gripped the room, Joseph felt the weight of destiny in his hands. The moment hung suspended in time, urging him to make the next move as darkness loomed. What awaited him in the heart of chaos? The voice pierced through the tension like an arrow, striking directly at Joseph's chest. He turned, heart racing, scanning the dimly lit chamber for the source of that desperate cry. "Mother?" The name escaped his lips, a whisper cloaked in disbelief. Confusion twisted with dread as he searched, barely registering the unsheathed swords and the faces twisted in fury around him. There she was, emerging from the shadows, disheveled and pale, eyes wide with fear. The flickering torchlight danced off her tear-streaked face, and in that instant, every moment of doubt and uncertainty crashed down on him. "Joseph! You can't do this!" she urged, her voice trembling. The pharaoh shot a glance at her, his expression shifting from anger to incredulity. "You brought her here?" He spat, the venom in his tone palpable. "I had to." Joseph shouted back, torn between the conflicting desires to protect her and to claim his freedom. "You don't understand, Mother. He is using you." "I know more than you think," she snapped back, her steely resolve shining through her fear. "This isn't the time for your choices. You need to listen." Joseph felt torn as a surge of panic poured through him. What choices had led to this moment? His mother stood in the heart of chaos, a symbol of everything good and pure, yet surrounded by darkness. But was she too late? "That's enough." The pharaoh bellowed, raising his weapon as if he could cut through the emotion hanging in the air. "You all will pay for your betrayal." With that, the guards launched forward. The ring of steel intensified as Joseph found himself caught in the storm once more, but this time he couldn't focus. The world blurred around him, flashes of ferocity and desperation clashing against the overwhelming need to protect his mother. "Fight, son!" His mother called, rallying him with all the strength she could muster. "You must choose now. We will not let tyranny win." With her words echoing in his mind like a thunderclap, something ignited within Joseph an unfamiliar surge of courage. He charged toward the nearest guard, ducking and weaving, every blow fueled by a mixture of raw fear and determination. The fight became a dance of life and death as he turned his eyes back to his mother. She stood resolutely, eyes darting to and fro, searching for him in the sea of chaos. He couldn't bear to think of her caught in the crossfire of this epic struggle for power. Since the beginning, he felt trapped in a game he didn't understand, but now, with her presence, clarity emerged through the fog. The outcome of this battle didn't solely rest on him, it landed on the shoulders of all who dared to rise. With each swing of his weapon, he grew relentless, imagining a future where people like his mother could live free from fear. He and the boy fought side by side now, each move synchronized with a hopeful rhythm. But the moment filled with hope was short-lived. A sudden mass of figures surged through the door, a terrifying wave crashing over them, a blur of rage and fury. Just as he began to breathe easier, a chilling voice rang out, commanding the attention of all present. "Enough of this chaos." The new arrivals were unlike anything Joseph had seen, ferocious and relentless, clad in black armor that swallowed the light. His heart sank as he recognized the insignia embroidered onto their gear, the mark of a notorious faction known for conquering lands in the name of the pharaoh's throne. "Joseph!" the boy shouted urgently. "Retreat! We can't fight them." But Joseph felt the ground beneath him shift. He couldn't retreat. Fear gripped him tighter than before, a gnawing feeling spiraling through his gut. With his mother in view and betrayal still swirling between them, he understood one thing: there was no escaping this fight. He had become the very weapon the pharaoh had wanted to wield. As the new faction advanced, Joseph locked his gaze on his mother, a renewed fire driving him forward. "We stand together," he yelled, his heart roaring with defiance. Tension hung thick as the clamor of war thundered around them, swords clashing and shields splintering. The moment swelled with uncertainty, and as both sides prepared for an explosive confrontation, it was evident that choices had consequences far beyond their immediate scope. Determined to protect his mother and forge a path toward freedom, Joseph braced himself for the storm. But just as battle broke out with a deafening crash, a haunting echo resonated through the air, sending chills down his spine. "Joseph, you have awakened powers within you that you don't yet understand, and they will be your salvation or your doom." The words lingered, wrapping around his mind like a tightening noose, as the war commenced. What awaited him as darkness and light collided? What secrets were hidden within the depths of his own heart, whispering promises and peril? The answers felt just beyond his grasp, shrouded in the chaos about to unfold. The clash of steel filled the air as a whirlwind of chaotic energy swept through the chamber. Joseph fought with unyielding resolve, every strike an echo of the urgency coursing through his veins. The newfound power that coursed within him, hinted at by that ghostly voice, pulsed like a second heartbeat. He felt lighter, quicker, each movement as if guided by forces beyond his comprehension. "Stick together!" he bellowed, glancing towards the boy, who was desperately fending off a hulking figure in black armor, the enemy's blade glinting ominously under the flickering lights. Joseph surged forward, his body moving instinctively. The clang of metal hit his ears as he collided with a guard, their swords clashing like thunder amidst the ferocious melee. But for every enemy he felled, two more seemed to take their place, emerging from shadowy corners and converging as if the walls themselves were conspiring against them. "Joseph!" His mother's voice rang through the chaos, full of desperation and urging him onward. "Find the heart of this conflict. You must break their line." He turned, searching for her through the chaos, spotting her defending against a trio of guards, her movements graceful yet frantic. She was caught in a whirlwind of chaos, and that faint trickle of fear surged inside him again. "I have to protect her." The thought blasted itself into his mind, igniting an extra layer of purpose burning through him. As he pushed forward, a black-clad figure swung an axe toward him, but Joseph sidestepped, feeling the rush of air as it whizzed by, barely missing him. In that split second, time slowed and the voices around him faded. It was just him and the monumental task ahead, the weight of his family's legacy resting on his shoulders. His body tingled with an awakening force, power blooming with each clash. Maybe he was not merely human. Maybe there was something more inside him, but just as the chaos reached its peak, the ground rumbled. The air crackled with a thick energy that no one could pinpoint. Joseph's heart raced, each beat echoing a warning. Moments later, the chamber's walls trembled, dust showering from the high ceilings, and the flickering torchlight began to dim. "What is happening?" someone shouted, fear punctuating their voice. Then, emerging through the darkened entrance, a figure cloaked in shadows and mystery charged forward, a woman with striking, luminous eyes and a commanding presence, unlike anything Joseph had ever seen. She was terrifying and beautiful, steeped in an aura that radiated authority. It was as if she had crossed realms to stand amidst the chaos. "Stop!" Her voice resounded, clear and unwavering, slicing through the tumult like a beacon. The combats faltered, eyes drawn to her with a mixture of fear and awe. "Who are you?" the pharaoh shouted, his bravado faltering in the face of this unexpected intrusion. "I am your reckoning," she declared, every word echoing with ancient power. "You have unleashed forces that should not be awakened." Joseph's pulse quickened. It felt as though she was speaking to him, a thread pulling taut between them. "Unleashed forces?" he whispered, overwhelmed with curiosity and dread. The fighting slowly ceased, everyone transfixed as the air thickened with anticipation. The realization flooded him, whatever it was that bound them all together was reaching a boiling point. "Joseph," she continued, her gaze piercing through the room until they locked onto his, "your mother knows the truth, and it is intertwined with your own awakening. What you seek lies not within these walls, but deep in your heart. Follow it, and you shall either conquer or be consumed." Her words seeped into him, filled with meaning he desperately wanted to unravel. His breath caught as he teetered on the edge of discovery. The heart of the storm was approaching. But just as hope began to blossom, the shouts of defiance broke the spell as chaos threatened to reignite. The guards stirred, emboldened by the shock of this new presence, tension veering dangerously close to eruption once more. Could he decipher the clues before the storm consumed them all? The stakes escalated, and with it the realization that every moment held the potential for salvation or destruction. As the two opposing forces readied for combat, he felt the weight of history pressing against him, guiding his decisions and framing the path ahead. This was no longer just a battle for survival. It was a battle for the soul of a nation. As he gripped his sword tightly, one single thought anchored him: if he didn't seize control of this moment, they would all be lost in the void that awaited beyond. Joseph stood at the precipice of chaos, the swirling turmoil of light and shadow ever closer to swallowing him whole. The powerful woman in front of him commanded attention, her presence resonating with something deep within him. How was it that this stranger seemed to know him, to hold the secrets of his heart, as if they spun an ancient thread binding them together? "Listen," the woman's voice thundered, slicing through the static in the chamber. "You have a choice, Joseph. Your destiny lies before you like an unbroken path, but only you can shape its direction." The air thickened as the realization of her words seeped into the gathering crowd. Joseph glanced around, desperate to fathom the gravity of the moment. Amidst the guards and masked figures stood his mother, still fighting bravely against overwhelming odds. Her spirit burned bright, like a fierce candle flickering in the dark. "Mother!" he shouted, trying to reach her, but the chaos pulsed around him, each clang of metal pushing him away from her. Behind the pharaoh, the wavering allegiance among the guards became a tempest of uncertainty. Could they sense the shift? "I'm here, Joseph," she responded, her voice echoing back. "We must hold on. Your heart sees the path." In the midst of the battleground, Joseph felt the chains of doubt breaking, fading into the shadows that hung in the air. Memories of betrayal, pain, and injustice cried out from the depths of his spirit, demanding resolution. The girl's mysterious command still echoed in his ears. All things were intertwined, and his awakening was not a solitary journey. Joseph focused, taking a deep breath. He pushed through the bodies, the heat of battle swirling around him, and stormed toward the woman. "What must I do?" he asked, desperation pouring from him. "Look within," she urged, her eyes glowing. "The power is not just in your blood but in your choices. You can choose to rise for the people who suffer, for those caught in the crossfire of tyranny. You can either become the pharaoh's weapon or the champion of your people." The pharaoh glared, his rage palpable, and gestured menacingly. "You dare question my rule? You will regret your choice." But Joseph felt within him a fire igniting, fueled by the truth and the love he had fought so fiercely to protect. "You're not my ruler. I refuse to play your pawn," Joseph shouted back, the words bursting forth like shrapnel. A hush fell across the chamber. The guards hesitated, uncertainty sweeping among them like a chilling wind. "Choose," the woman exclaimed, urging Joseph's heart and clarity. "The path to power lies before you, and with it, salvation or destruction." In that moment, with echoes of clashing swords around him, clarity washed over Joseph like a wave. The whispers of trust from the boy, the pleas from his mother, and the fierce resolve he now felt settled deep in his gut. He could no longer be a prisoner of his fears. With an unwavering resolve, he turned to face the pharaoh, his voice steady and fierce. "Enough of this tyranny. Let my people go, or I shall rise against you." He pulled the weight of his ancestry forward, the dreams long buried now surging up like a phoenix. The pharaoh's face twisted, caught between disbelief and fury. "You will regret this," he screamed, but the energy had shifted. The guards looked to Joseph, then to the pharaoh, loyalty warring with self-preservation. "Your reign is over," Joseph declared. "I stand with my people, not a puppet for an unjust throne." In an electrifying heartbeat, allies emerged behind him, those once loyal to the pharaoh questioning their allegiances, emboldened by Joseph's resolve. The air crackled with anticipation as they rallied, the tide of the battle shifted, and suddenly, triumph felt tangible. Fragments of battle exploded around them, swords clashing and feelings igniting with renewed purpose. And just then, as the storm reached its apex, the woman moved with grace, her hands raised, channeling power from unseen realms. Within moments, a blinding light enveloped the chamber, illuminating the darkness and sweeping it away like autumn leaves in a breeze. Now, she called, her voice a beacon guiding them toward the path of justice. Joseph felt the surge of energy pulsating through him, raw and illuminating. It turned his fears into something powerful, invigorating rather than suffocating. Together, they charged toward the pharaoh. A final clash echoed through the chamber, bodies colliding, but Joseph felt fear melt away, replaced by a fierce hope and unyielding clarity. His heart swelled with unity. The past had shaped him, but he and his people would carve a new legacy. As he stood resolute, arms raised to the skies, he grasped the moment. "This is our time," he bellowed. The pharaoh's roar reverberated, but it was too late. With newfound strength and purpose, the light spilled forth, washing over them. And in that moment, amid the clash of fate and freedom, Joseph understood, he was not alone. The bonds he'd forged, the love, trust, and belief had tethered them together. They would rise, no matter the cost. Before they fell into overwhelming murk of danger, Joseph felt it shift, the choice finally made. Together, they would step into the dawn of a new world, one united against tyranny, reshaped by the power of their hearts. As silence fell, a solitary promise echoed, for freedom and honor. You need to subscribe now to make sure you never miss another exciting adventure. This is the moment to show your support for our channel. Smash the like button now, it seriously feeds the algorithm and helps us grow. Flood the comments now with your thoughts, reactions, and theories on this wild conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this definitive end. True fans know how important it is to support the channel through these actions.